these plants in here, I think, yeah, I'm absolutely sure. Let me get out of the shade. I'm absolutely sure these are golden melilot. Yeah, it's definitely a melilot plant. I'm not sure the medicinal uses for this plant. I know there are several, but I'm not sure of them. I've never used them, you see. But yeah, it looks like melilot, and that's obviously Michaelmas daisy, but I've got plenty in the garden. But there's that white plant in the background there. They're fairly common, but that's meadowsweet, and they make a lovely, lovely natural scent in the house, you know, hence the name meadowsweet. They make a great tea as well. I use them for, well, I pick and dry them, and I use them for lots of medicinal purposes. There's also a compound in them which is very similar to aspirin. Well, let me just tell you, aspirin is actually the compound coming from the meadowsweet plant. These are ancient plants, and I've got traffic surrounding me. I'm up here at Amulree, but that's the meadowsweet there. And as I said already, they are fantastic. You can use all parts of the plant, of course, but generally I just use the leaves for tea, and the white flower makes a great scent, and also I use that for if I've got an upset tummy, or even a sore head. I never take any pharmaceuticals at all now. I don't take any pills whatsoever. I don't trust anything in a capsule, and so I always rely on my my own sense of, well, I say my own sense, I don't know where it came from. This kind of started about 10 years ago, possibly a bit more. I was going through quite a traumatic time in my life, just for personal reasons. I think a lot to do with, well, let's not say in camera, but simply I kind of shifted. I wouldn't say in a different dimension. I just shifted gear, and some people call it ascending. I don't think I ascended. I didn't actually go up in the air. But there's a sheep being sheared. Anyone with a keen eye will know I'm in Amulree. It seems to be my second home at the moment. But actually I'll be up here again tomorrow, because the soup and sandwiches getting served tomorrow, the 30th of July. This is the 29th of July, 2022. What else are we talking about? Yeah, so I kind of felt that on this kind of ascension I was getting, sounds a bit weird, I know this, but it felt like I was getting visitations from fairies during the night, whispering things in my ear. Put me in a kind of new track, which I'd never considered, even though it's all been available to me all year. It was never considered to do it. Did I say all year? All my life. So what I'm talking about is all these plants. For example, this one in here, it's going to seed a wee bit. See, can you see this? Well, let me bring the one that's still in bloom. It's been in bloom for a few weeks. This is lady's bedstraw. I'm going to cut some of these actually. That's the purpose of coming up today. Another excellent plant for medicinal use, which I use on a regular basis. I'm talking when things are not working out. You know, if there's a need, you don't take something because you feel like taking it. You take it because you need to take it. But as I say, I avoid anything that's given over the counter in pharmacies or through the medical practice, anything like that. You know, I just say no. But this lady's bedstraw, this is hence its name, is also was used to well, put in pillows and stuff to give it a nice scent. I'm talking back in the old days when there was no not real much ventilation in the houses and stuff, and you know, maybe talking pre-1800 here. But these would all be used. All the females of the family and the clanspeople would all be out picking these, because this plant itself is makes an excellent yellow dye, and so you pick a lot for the yellow dye. That would have been used in the tartans, but a lot of people don't like the yellow in the tartan. You know, it's the Campbells have got a yellow tartan, and a lot of people don't like any yellow in the tartan because of what happened in 1692 up in Glencoe, although you've got to live and forgive, you know. But what I'm talking about also is the roots of this plant will determine a red dye, and that was also used in kilt making and tartans and stuff like that, and other products too, you know, for linen and whatnot. But this I'm going to just harvest some. I don't like cutting while you're... It's a quiet spot. It's away from the roadside. These plants tend to, they're a bit like hedgehogs in some respect. They tend to, and pigeons too, they tend to like the side of the road. I don't know why, but you always get, I fear for hedgehogs because they're always getting squashed, and I hate to see them, you know, they're out doing their business and try to cross the road like anyone else, but they're not as fast on their feet, you know, and cars run over them. It's just sad. And poor old pigeons down getting a peck at the seeds at the side of the road, and off they get, you know, hit with motors and stuff. But yeah, so I'm saying this lady's bedstraw, it's off the Gallium family, is a really, really lovely scent. Now, let me just pick this one. It's absolutely beautiful. It really is beautiful, beautiful. If you walked into someone's house and smelt that, you would be asking the questions, what is that smell? It's lovely. But it's lady's bedstraw. What I'll do, I'm not going to stand yapping too much into the camera here on not far from that main road, and well, I'm not bothered. I actually don't care. And here's a milk thistle. These thistles are edible as well, you see. Very good. And once again, they make a decent dye. This plant here is called tansy. Tansy, but well, they tend to, I think horses tend to eat them and the cattle tend to eat them. It makes them sick. So you always see farmers out trying to destroy this stuff in any fields that have livestock. So I don't touch it for that reason. So it's a bonny plant. Obviously the insects and that love it, but it's not. It is edible, I will say that, but I wouldn't recommend it. And if you are doing anything, don't take my advice. You have to make your own decisions in life of what you're doing. So I'm just doing this for a documentary for kind of entertainment purposes, but also to kind of share some of my knowledge that was given to me by the fairies. And here we have some self-heal. I think I said to somebody, or at least I put it up somewhere, that self-heal was smoking, and to stop me smoking, I dried out. Well, I dried out all this stuff because again I use it for medicinal purposes, and I smoked the red seal. So it's not the red seal, self-heal. I think the red seal's a cigarette, isn't it? I don't know. I smoked the self-heal in a dried format, and it actually did eventually make me stop smoking. So bear that in mind, eh? I also have here white clover, and again white clover is edible, full of protein, but I use that again for, I haven't picked it for 2 years. I can remember picking it in 2020 quite a lot. I dried that off, and white clover tea, red clover tea, and the red clovers, you see them, they're a real favourite of bumblebees. If you can get to them before the bumblebees, if you pick them, I don't even bother washing them, but that's not a good idea. You should wash things, but I tend to just eat them when I see them, and they're absolutely packed with all different types of enzymes and proteins which are beneficial to the body. I'm looking over here, what's this thing in the next to the birch tree? It's just a birch. That wire, that needs to come out. I'm going to come up here and take this wire away from the poor birch tree. Yeah, that's obviously causing problems for the birch, but it's obviously to keep the deer away from nibbling at it. But it's survived the deer. It's a lovely tree. I've mentioned before that this particular birch tree is very ladylike. It's very feminine. It's very beautiful, actually. So, what we're doing? Yeah, we're going to actually just spotted some Scots pine as well. These Scots pine are also make a good healthy tea. What's more important is the resin inside the bark. If you need any instant glue, just take a little cut onto the Scots pine. Scots pine's got that reddish bark, you know, it's got a faint reddish bark on it, and when you allow the sap to rise, you could take that resin and do anything with it. It will absolutely seal and glue anything together. So be careful if you put it on your lips, because you might not be able to kiss anyone again or open your mouth to talk a lot of crap, as many people do in the 21st century. But this is not crap, this is all going to be beneficial for somebody. Let's hope so anyway. Yeah, the Scots pine, especially if you've got a forest of Scots pine, or at least a clump together, because the forests were all cut down a long time ago. Much of the oaks, the ancient oaks and that, were cut down for shipbuilding in the early days, and also much of it was used for the trench warfare, believe it or not, in the First World War, particularly, and the Western Front, you know. So a lot of these trees were taken down right across the whole land, but there's the odd surviving Scots pine. We've got a few just gathered in here together. Try to keep out that wind. I don't want any distortion on my camera or microphone. But if you see from a distance, especially in the winter time in the low light, absolutely gorgeous. Especially at sunset, it really is absolutely gorgeous to see the Scots pine all in their fine glory. So I've mentioned I'm here at Amulree, and I've given you some plants. That wind's kind of picking up again, so rather than spoil this short video that I'm making, I'll stop off here and I'll maybe put in some personal commentary towards the end, just to give you some further information on the plants that we've discussed today. Okay, bye. So here we are, just a small posy of the lady's bedstraw, which I've tied it up with grass. I'll put that in the some greaseproof paper, let that dry off naturally. It allows, if there's any small insects that are still resident within, because there might be, they'll make their way out. So the plant is happy. It's been put to use, and it's not been going to just wither back and no one paying attention to it. So it's quite happy. The fairies the fairies allow things. It sounds silly, but just bless the plant, thank the fairies, and show a bit of gratitude, and this will give its proper healing properties at the right time when you need it. So that will be stored over the winter, and I'll use that. There's absolutely thousands of seeds there, and you only need about a quarter of a teaspoon on any occasion for your medicine, and clears a lot of ailments. I don't have any ailments. Some mental ailments, I think. I've got some, I wouldn't say mental health, what do you call it, I don't know. It doesn't even bother. It doesn't matter. If you've got mental health issues, it doesn't matter at all. You're still a human. It doesn't matter what you're like. It doesn't matter at all, as long as you're not bad or wicked. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's no place for wicked people. At all. Anyway, I'm drifting off the subject point, am I? Boop boop. I'm just away to have a cup of tea. I sit at my favourite bench. I've got my writing material in the car, but I probably will do some writing. But what intrigued me was this little collection that's been left on the table surface. Now, is that the fairies? Or is it some child that's left this and probably felt really pleased that being on holiday, they've put these cones together, and these cones will close up when it comes to rain, but wet weather. They've obviously left a stone. That stone is of purpose to this person who's left it. This little piece of wood, look at that. That's been left there with a degree of thought, along with a leaf from the, that's off the roseberry willow herb, and the seeds of some plants, because a bit of heather, see that? So that's a bit heather. So somebody's been, and that's a bit clover. So somebody's been sitting here, arranged these purposely, and probably gone back home to wherever they came from, and they're probably thinking about this. Did anyone come along and notice this was set about here with love and purpose? So I think that's quite nice. Most people would just come along and just shove the whole thing off, but no, I'll leave that there. It's a nice thought, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to have a cup of tea. I'm blethering. Sometimes I drift when I'm blethering. I think we all do, don't we? I think I've spoken more to this camera than I have to my friend. That's my up and down friend I often refer to. Yeah, I've actually spoken more to the camera than I have to my up and down friend these couple of months past. Ah well, that's life, isn't it? Oh, I'm not laughing, but I'm just, well, I'm laughing to try and cheer myself up, but I do. Oh. That's what friends do, eh? I suppose that's why we call them up and down friends, eh? The last time I was up here, that siskin was in the tree. It's back again. If I can pick it up. I don't think I can see it through the foliage there. There he goes. I don't know if you can see him. He's hopping about anyway. You see him? I hope so. There he goes. Very inquisitive. It's quite reassuring. He's not even bothered about me. He's just making his thing, doing his own thing. Okay, I'll get my cup of tea. My homemade tea. Everybody should possess a flask. Everyone. And as I've said previously, because I think there's a moor. It's not a motorbike, it's a moor in the background, chewing up the grass somewhere. And I have said that they can send spaceships to the other side of the universe and rockets and satellites and all that stuff, but they've still not designed a lawnmower that's quiet, or a strimmer that's quiet. I don't understand it. It's like it's probably the epitome of the summer. It's either ruined with locally with aircraft from the local airfield, although touch wood, they've not been out and about so much of late. They haven't been out much since lockdown. I think maybe they're not allowed to sit together in the cockpit. Probably that's why I've not heard much of them. Great. I knew COVID would have some sort of bonus to my environment. But yeah, so they've not got no one's come up with a quiet design for a lawnmower. It really needs to be thought about. And when I think about it, Hoovers are the same. Why are Hoovers? Well, they're not actually called Hoovers. Hoovers is actually the manufacturer, wasn't it? The vacuum cleaner. Vacuum cleaners are terrible, noisy things. I do remember actually at times being quite creative, and even as a young boy, writing things. And Mum would take out the vacuum cleaner, and all my creativity went out the window. You know, it's the same as lawnmowers and strimmers. Here's a white butterfly. I mentioned that before, didn't I? He's maybe down there. You never got him on camera this time, but he's there. What was I saying? Yes, everybody should have a thermos. There he goes. Can you see him? Oh, he's maybe come down to... Well, have you ever been kissed by a butterfly? It's one of the most wonderful things that happens. Really. I've had it happen several times, but I've actually been kissed right on the lips by a butterfly. It's the most amazing thing. There's probably better things. Well, let me just rephrase that. Maybe in life you consider being kissed by someone that you care about would be much more of a thrill than being kissed by a random butterfly. But the experience, I reckon, is pretty similar. I think it is. Anyway, I'm drifting off point again. It seems to be my hobby. Thermal flask. What's this say? Yeah, so it's a thermos. I think you kind of knew people's background status when you're young, when you referred to it as a flask. Middle classes tend to refer to it, and probably most of the aristocracy well, the aristocracy probably not, because they would have a picnic basket, and they probably have servants pouring fresh tea, you know, like Darjeeling or Earl Grey or something of that nature. Whereas the middle classes perhaps would, you know, pop in something into the thermos. But the proletariat would call it a flask. And I'm not being disrespectful to the working class. I'm just saying that the working class people would most likely call it a flask because they didn't want to say thermos in front of their work colleagues. Or if you're at the tatties, does anyone know what that is? Well, I used to pick tatties when I was a young child. And the farmer used to step out the bits in, not in metres, but in feet. And he had big feet. And I think I picked 12 feet bits. And 12 or 14 feet, picking dozens of potatoes, tatties, picking dozens of them, and put them in a basket. And when you're 7-year-old, a basket can be quite heavy. You had to empty your own basket. Most of them ended up on the floor, or the field floor. And then you got paid for your day's work in a brown envelope, and you spent the whole lot at the ice cream van. It didn't make sense. I still don't know anyone who bought shares with the money they earned at the tatty picking, or invested it in a portfolio of any nature. I don't. I think they all spent it at the ice cream van. Yeah, there's very, very little footage, or photographs of people at the tatty picking, but it was a massive industry, especially here in Perthshire. It was, Ayrshires in Ireland had a lot of potato picking, but Perthshire was pretty massive for tatty picking in the autumn, early autumn. I mean, they gave the children 2 weeks off school to do the work. They still get a break. I don't think it's called tatty holidays now. I think it's called the autumn term. And they don't pick tatties and they don't do anything. But certainly anyone who was brought up in the mid-70s, I'd say, definitely pre-80s, would have remembered going to the tatties as a source of income. I never went to the berry picking. It was too far away to the berry picking, and I didn't fancy it anyway. No, the summertime was for playing. It was not for standing next to a raspberry bush. Although I'm saying that, back in the day, I mean, all my relatives, both grandmothers and certainly my mum and both grandmothers made jam. There's a motorbike coming in with a noisy engine. They shut up. Oh, for goodness sake! Thank you. What was I talking about now? See what I mean about creativity being taken away from your brain when there's a noise? They made jam, and they had, punnets and punnets, pounds, boxes of jam. Berries for jam making, which cost next to nothing. And the sugars and the, just everything, it was combined to make a pot of jam. And Mum would make, about 2 dozen jam pots, maybe more actually when I think about it, and raspberry vinegar and all that sort of stuff. It was a huge industry in the household. But now, if you went to buy the product, the source product, it would be equivalent of maybe buying a pot of jam at about £12 a pot, for a jar. So it just doesn't make economic sense. And the whole industry of families has been lost completely in just a very short time. Probably in 20 or 30 years, it's all just gone out the window. I have made jam myself. It's a tricky business. If it doesn't set right, you've ruined your whole thing. It just turns into a syrup. So it was definitely something that needed a lot of knowledge, care, and attention. It came with experience, but unfortunately, they don't do it now. I don't even think people eat jam now. No, I don't think they do. I mean, a piece of jam, if you told somebody you're nipping into the house for a piece of jam, they would look at you as if there's something wrong with you. I can remember getting a piece of butter because it was all we had. No one bothered because it was just everybody was the same. Something's terribly happened in the social welfare of this nation. I don't know what's happened, but I think I'll start eating pieces of jam again, quite deliberately. Just sit here with a piece of jam or a piece of butter. What you got in your pieces a day? Just butter. Well, butter. That's another part of status, isn't it? How you pronounce butter. Butter. Actually, another sad fact of life. I mean, butter. You can't even make a cake anymore. It's cost so much money. So you're forced to eat that crap that you get in supermarkets now. I just hate it all. It's full of that palm oil and is it palm syrup or fruit? Is it fruit? It's not fructose. It's some weird syrup they put in it, and it makes people enormous. It's really quite shocking. I mean, most people eat pudding regularly, but you don't get pudding. We never had 3 courses for our meals. We never had that luxury, but most people did have 2 or 3 courses for their evening meal. And I never got round to calling dinner. Dinner to me was at lunchtime. That was another social thing. But the higher up the social scale you were, dinner went from further into the evening. So a lot of people had dinner between 7 and 8 in the evening, or 6 and 7, But then it became tea time. Tea time is always traditionally around about 4 o'clock when you had afternoon tea and scones and sandwiches. Dinner time was, we didn't call it lunchtime, we called it dinner time. Eventually you started to call it lunch because you got a little bit more mature and knowledgeable, and you realised to get on in life that you couldn't get away with calling lunchtime dinner time. If you're at a job interview and you said, yeah, I'm just going to grab my dinner, you wouldn't get the job if you'd just been interviewed at lunchtime. It's true. The sheep, my camera's pointed away in a different direction there, isn't it? I've been kind of leaning off that table and thought. One of the sheep's missed its shearing. So it'll be pretty warm. Very intelligent beast, the sheep. They don't get much credit. See, when you're in the countryside, that's what you want to hear. It's just like the bleats of the sheep in the background and stuff, and the wind through the grasses. But unfortunately, no, we're getting stereo droning more. I've come inside the car just to continue the conversation a wee bit, as it is quite breezy out. The windows are slightly ajar. It's a different way of saying the windows are slightly open, but I prefer to use that type of language. It just suits my personality. But so the windows are slightly ajar for some fresh air. But yeah, I was saying about, what was I saying? Pudding. People used to eat pudding, and most people, if you went to an elderly relative to visit, you would always get some cake. That's cake that was made in the house, or scones. And I can remember. There's no plan to my conversation today. It's just this is just coming off the back of my brain as I speak. But when I was about 9-year-old, 10-year-old perhaps, me and one of my friends, on Sunday afternoon, not every Sunday, but we often go out to his auntie's house, not far from where I lived. Although it felt like a long way, it felt like a huge journey to get there. But in point of fact, it wasn't. And I always went because I was very fond of somebody who lived nearby. In fact, we had quite a steady relationship for a long time, and just at a young age, romantic relationship from we were about 10, 11-year-old. It was quite odd. I used to walk her home every single night. And my friends would poke fun at me because they knew I was waiting for her or coming out of class and stuff, and then she'd meet up, or if I had been delayed in class, she'd be waiting for me, that type of thing, and we'd walk. It was in the countryside, so it was quite a long way. But anyway, my friend, his auntie lived nearby. It was an elderly great auntie or something, and when we visited, she had the old-fashioned range, the black range in the house, the old cottage. And the smell in the house was absolutely divine. It was a kind of mixture between the old burning logs and coal, and there's that faint, acrid smoke smell that you can get off the fire, but it's a pleasant acrid smoke scent. If you understand me, it's like if you smell smoke from a burning plastic, that is a horrible acrid smell. But the smoke was, it left a legacy in the brain of. Like I'm sitting here all these almost 50 years later talking about it. Is it? No, it's not 50 years, goodness me. But I'm talking about the scones she used to make, and she had butter and jam as well. She didn't bother with cream. I don't ever remember getting any cream. I think that's something you got in a restaurant or a cafeteria. But certainly these scones, I can taste them right now. They were just absolutely divine. Wonderful tasting scones, homemade. So that's the memory there. But also I can remember the dining food hall. I wonder whether I should mention the woman's name or not. It might not be good to do that, but let's call her Mrs. S. Anyone can work it out, but Mrs. S for sugar. And she said, "Wait, I'll give you some fresh custard," because we lived about 10 doors from this lady. So she said to me, "Oh, Andrew, I'll give you some fresh custard. Just you hold a minute. It'll be hotter than the stuff you've got there." And I had a big kind of sponge and sponge cake on my plate. And she came over and she poured the custard onto it. And I couldn't believe it. It was, I can still see it coming out of this big white jug. It was a big lump of thick skin. It was horrid. And I didn't, because when you're young, you don't say things. You don't pipe up and say, "Oh no, I'm not eating that." You do when you become a teenager, but when you're a child, you just take it away and sit down. And as a result, every time I eat custard, I always check it thoroughly. I mean, I really do. I take a spoon and examine this custard with endeavour, making sure there's no thick bits of skin hidden, because it was absolutely disgusting. And I felt I couldn't go back with the plate with the custard and cake in it, because she would say, you know, "What's wrong? Why are you not eating it?" And there'd be such a commotion. I just decided to, rather than have any problems, I just decided to eat it. I didn't enjoy it at all. It really did make me consider whether I should eat custard again or not. And the only reason I think I got past it was because I didn't really know at the time, but trifle has custard in it. So I love trifle, although I don't eat it very often. I don't get the opportunity to eat trifle, but I do enjoy it. I make my own trifle at Christmas time. I didn't make it anything the last couple of years. I don't know. I've just kind of, I don't know. Maybe it'll come back round. I don't know. But I just thought, But yeah, anyone who eats trifle, look out for the custard. It's very hot in this car, so the temperature's still very high. This is the 29th of July. I think I said that when I was mucking about with each plants. I got my lady's bedstraw, as I mentioned. That was the purpose of this video, and end up chatting about a whole variety of things, but that's just me. I like talking. I like conversation. I like debate, and I like nostalgia. And I like being on these mountains, but not in the summertime. You can see from here they look very bland. No disrespect to them, but you're better up there when it's blowing a blizzard. So hopefully you enjoyed a bit of chat here. I don't like any gaps when my brain's kind of turning, but you know, a conversation of this type of nature should be, you know, without any thought. Anyway, it's just whatever's comes up in your present mind. So we'll leave the video there today. I'll pick up more, as I've got lots of conversations to have with you people out there, and hopefully you've enjoyed this one. So thanks very much for listening to me. Bye.